January 20th, 1979. Beirut. Ali Hassan Salameh woke up at 6:45 a.m., 15 minutes before his alarm. He always did that. His body knew the rhythm, even when his mind wanted to sleep. The apartment was quiet. His wife, Georgina, still asleep beside him. The morning light filtered through the curtains, soft, golden, ordinary. He had a routine. We all do. Coffee first, then the newspaper, then the call to his mother. He thought routines kept him safe. They don't. This is Ali Hassan Salameh. In 48 hours, he would be dead. But he didn't know that. Not yet. Somewhere in Tel Aviv, in a safe house with maps on the wall and photographs pinned to boards, someone already knew his schedule. Someone knew he'd wake up at 6:45. Someone knew about the coffee, the newspaper, the call to his mother. Someone knew how this weekend would end. But Ali? Ali was thinking about his son's birthday party, about the new car he wanted to buy, about ordinary things. That's what makes this weekend worth remembering, not how it ended, but how ordinary it was, until it wasn't. To understand these 48 hours, you need to know who Ali was before he became a target. Born in 1940 in the village of Kula, Palestine. His father was a prominent political figure. His childhood was comfortable, privileged even, until 1948 changed everything. The Nakba, the catastrophe. His family fled to Lebanon. Ali was 8 years old. He grew up in refugee camps. He watched his father's influence fade. He watched his mother stretch meals to feed 5 children. He learned what it meant to be displaced. He also learned to hate. But here's what the intelligence files don't capture. Ali loved poetry. He memorized verses by Mahmoud Darwish. He had a beautiful singing voice. Friends remember him singing at gatherings, long into the night. He was charming, exceptionally so. Even people who knew what he'd done would later say, "You couldn't help but like him." And this is important. Not to excuse what came later, but to understand he was human, complicated, like we all are. Ali joined Fatah in the early 1960s. By the late 1960s, he was being trained by Yasser Arafat himself. He was good at this, too good, smart, strategic, ruthless when he needed to be. He rose quickly through the ranks. In 1970, he became the leader of an organization called Black September. This is where the story gets dark. This is where we need to be honest. On September 5, 1972, Black September terrorists took 11 Israeli athletes hostage at the Munich Olympics. All 11 died. It was a massacre, broadcast to the world. Ali Hassan Salameh planned that operation. Let me be clear. Understanding all perspectives doesn't mean justifying actions. Salameh committed serious crimes. He was responsible for the deaths of innocent people. He was a legitimate target for those seeking justice. But he was also a son, a husband, a father. And in January 1979, he was both of those things at once, a wanted terrorist and a man planning his son's birthday party. The complexity is the point. After Munich, Ali became the most wanted man in the world. Mossad launched Operation Wrath of God. One by one, they hunted down everyone involved in Munich. Shootings in Rome, bombings in Paris, poison in Lillehammer, though they got the wrong man that time. Ali knew he was on the list. He knew they were coming. So he did something unexpected. He tried to disappear. In 1978, he married Georgina Risk, Miss Universe 1971, a Christian woman from Lebanon. They had a son, Ali Jr. He rented an apartment in West Beirut in a neighborhood called Verdun. Upscale, relatively safe. He drove a beige Chevrolet. He wore Western suits. He didn't look like a terrorist. He looked like a businessman. He thought, maybe if I become ordinary, they'll stop looking. He thought, maybe I can have both lives, the fighter and the father. He thought, maybe I can protect my family by giving them a normal life. He was wrong. Because Mossad doesn't forget. And they were already watching. To understand why Mossad was coming for Ali that weekend, we need to understand what they knew. And what they knew was extensive. Mossad had been building a file on Salameh for 7 years. Surveillance photographs from Rome, Paris, Beirut, phone intercepts, informants, patterns of movement. They knew his car. They knew his routes. They knew where he bought groceries. They knew about Georgina. They knew about the baby. They knew he drove his son to daycare every Tuesday and Thursday. They knew about his mother's house, where he visited every Friday for lunch. They knew his bodyguards' names. They knew their shifts. They even knew, and this detail is chilling, that he always parked on the same street, in the same spot, near his apartment. Mossad calls this pattern of life analysis. They watch you until your routine becomes predictable. Then they use that routine against you. Ali had been careful. He varied his routes sometimes. He changed cars occasionally. He knew the rules of staying alive. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd settled down. He'd created a routine. And routines are what get you killed. By January 1979, Mossad had finalized their plan. They'd been preparing for months. A team of operatives had already arrived in Beirut. Some posed as tourists, some as journalists. One worked in a nearby cafe. They'd rented apartments with clear sight lines to Ali's building. They'd installed listening devices. They'd photographed every entrance and exit. They'd chosen their weapon, a car bomb, not sophisticated but effective, powerful enough to kill but contained enough not to cause excessive civilian casualties, a calculation that sounds clinical because it was. They'd chosen their timing, Saturday, January 22nd, a weekend. Ali would be relaxed, off guard. He'd probably have his family with him. Actually, that last part is important. Let's pause on that. Mossad knew his family might be in the car, his wife, his infant son. The operation proceeded anyway. This isn't propaganda for or against anyone. This is just the truth. Intelligence agencies make calculations, target value versus collateral risk, the math of assassination. In this case, they decided Ali was worth the risk. Whether that was justice or murder, strategy or terrorism, history has different answers depending on who's telling the story. But the math was done. The decision was made. The operatives were in position. All they needed was for Ali to follow his routine one more time. And so we return to that Friday morning. Ali Hassan Salameh, waking up at 6:45. Coffee, newspaper, the call to his mother. Except this Friday was different. This Friday was his last normal day, though he didn't know it yet. The Mossad team watching him didn't know he'd wake up early. They didn't know he'd decide spontaneously to drive a different route to his mother's house that day. For a moment, just a moment, their perfect plan had a gap. Ali took a street he rarely used. He stopped at a market he'd never been to before. He bought flowers for his mother, something he almost never did. The surveillance team had to scramble. Radio chatter. Quick repositioning. They almost lost him. Almost. But they found him again, because that's what they do. And Ali? Ali had no idea. He was thinking about the flowers, about his mother's smile, about whether his son would like the birthday cake Georgina was planning. He was thinking about ordinary things. 48 hours. That's all he had left. Friday afternoon. Ali sits in his mother's living room. She's made his favorite meal, makluba, rice and vegetables and lamb, inverted onto a platter. The smell fills the apartment. His brothers are there, his sister, children running around, laughing. It's loud, chaotic, warm. Family. Ali's mother looks at him across the table. Later, she'll remember this moment. She'll remember thinking, he looks tired. He was. He tells her about Georgina, about the baby, about normal things. He doesn't tell her he's been having trouble sleeping. He doesn't tell her about the nightmares, the faces of people he's killed, people who've died because of orders he gave. He doesn't tell her that sometimes, when he looks at his son sleeping, he wonders if this is all worth it. The cause, the fight, the endless cycle. He doesn't tell her any of this because you don't burden your mother with such things. Instead, he jokes. He makes her laugh. He drinks tea. He watches his nieces and nephews play. He's present, fully there. For maybe the first time in years, he's not thinking about security, about Mossad, about being hunted. He's just a son having lunch with his mother. 3 blocks away, a Mossad operative takes a photograph through a telephoto lens. Click. The file is updated. Subject at mother's residence. Friday pattern confirmed. Friday night. Ali drives home. Georgina is waiting. She's planned a quiet evening, just the 2 of them after the baby's asleep. They watch a movie on television. Some American Western. Ali doesn't really pay attention, he's distracted. "What's wrong?" Georgina asks. "Nothing," he says. "Just tired." But it's not nothing. All week he's felt something. A feeling he can't name. Not quite fear, not quite paranoia. Just an awareness, like being watched. Which makes sense because he is being watched. The apartment across the street, rented 2 months ago by a German journalist, has a perfect view of his living room. Right now, through the curtains, the operative can see the glow of the television, can see 2 silhouettes on the couch. The operative makes a note. Subject home, lights out by 23:00. Ali tells Georgina he loves her. She laughs, says he's being sentimental, but she says it back. They go to bed. Ali doesn't sleep well. He never does anymore. He lies awake, listening to the sounds of the city, car horns, distant music, the call to prayer at dawn. He thinks, tomorrow I'll take Ali Jr. to the park. Tomorrow I'll be a better father. Tomorrow I'll spend less time on the cause and more time on my family. Tomorrow. He has no idea there won't be many tomorrows left. Saturday, January 20th, 1979. Ali wakes up. Georgina is already awake, feeding the baby. Morning light through the curtains. "Good morning," she says. He smiles, plans the day. They'll go to the club for lunch. He has some errands. That evening, maybe dinner with friends. Normal, comfortable, safe. Except it's not safe. At 9 a.m., the Mossad team receives final authorization from Tel Aviv. The operation is green-lit. It will happen tomorrow, Sunday, January 22nd, when Ali returns from his mother's house. But Ali doesn't know this. He's getting dressed, choosing between the blue tie or the gray one, deciding whether to wear the watch Georgina gave him for his birthday. Small decisions, meaningless decisions. At noon, he drives to the Beirut Country Club. Georgina and the baby are with him. He parks in his usual spot. The Mossad team watches. They note everything. The car, the parking spot, the route he took. They're doing the final rehearsal in their minds. Tomorrow, when he parks in that spot, the bomb will be in position. But today, they just watch. Ali has lunch. He laughs with friends. He holds his son. He is photographed smiling, holding a drink, looking relaxed. That photograph will be published in newspapers worldwide 3 days later with the caption, "Terrorist leader killed in Beirut." But right now, in this moment, he's just a man having lunch with his family. The irony is almost unbearable. He is utterly doomed and he has no idea. Sunday morning, the last morning. Ali wakes up the same way he always does. Coffee, newspaper. But today he also plays with Ali Jr., making the baby laugh. Georgina watches from the doorway. Later she'll remember this. How happy he looked. Around noon, Ali prepares to drive to his mother's house. It's his routine, every Sunday. Georgina asks if she should come. He says no, she should rest, stay with the baby. He'll be back in a few hours. He kisses her. He kisses his son. He walks out the door. He doesn't look back. He gets in his beige Chevrolet. He drives the route he's driven 100 times before. He parks on the street where he always parks. As he's getting out of the car, a Volkswagen passes slowly on the street. Later, investigators will determine that this Volkswagen contained the Mossad operatives. They were doing a final verification, making sure it was him, making sure the target was in position. Ali doesn't notice the Volkswagen. Why would he? It's just a car. He walks half a block to his mother's building. Behind him, his car sits on the street, waiting. Inside the wheel well, packed with precision, explosives, timer, trigger. The timer is set for 3 p.m., when Ali will return from lunch. Ali has lunch with his mother. The same meal as always, the same conversation. His mother notices he seems quiet today, distracted. "Are you all right?" she asks. "I'm fine, Mama," he says. "Just thinking about work." She doesn't push. She never does. At 2:50 p.m., Ali checks his watch. He should go. Georgina will be wondering where he is. He hugs his mother, tells her he'll see her next week. He walks back to his car. It's still there, exactly where he left it. Nothing seems wrong. Nothing seems different. He unlocks the door. He gets in. He starts the engine. Everything is normal. At 3 p.m., as Ali begins to pull away from the curb, the bomb detonates. The explosion is massive. It destroys his car completely. It shatters windows in nearby buildings. People 3 blocks away feel the shockwave. Ali Hassan Salameh dies instantly. He never knew what hit him. Mossad's most wanted target, dead in less than a second. But here's what's important to understand. The explosion also killed 4 innocent bystanders, people walking on the street, people who had nothing to do with Black September or Munich or intelligence operations. They were just there. Wrong place, wrong time. Their names were in the news for a day, then forgotten. But they matter too. They always matter. After the explosion, Georgina Risk received a phone call. "Your husband is dead." She didn't believe it at first. She'd just seen him a few hours ago. He was coming home. He'd promised. Ali Hassan Salameh Jr. was 6 months old. He would grow up without a father, with only photographs and stories. In Tel Aviv, Mossad marked Ali Hassan Salameh's file. Eliminated, operation successful. They held a quiet celebration. Justice, they called it, for Munich, for the 11 athletes who never came home, and they were right, in a way. Ali had been responsible for those deaths. He had blood on his hands. But those 4 civilians on the street in Beirut, what justice was there for them? Ali's mother lived another 20 years. Every Sunday, until she was too old to cook, she made makluba. She set a place at the table for the son who would never come home. She never spoke about what he'd done. To her, he was always just Ali, her boy. Here's the thing about these stories. There are no clean endings. Ali Hassan Salameh was a terrorist. He planned operations that killed innocent people. He was also a son, a husband, a father. He sang poetry. He made his baby laugh. Both of these things are true. Mossad eliminated a legitimate target. They avenged Munich. They protected future lives. They also killed 4 people who were just walking down a street in Beirut. Both of these things are true. The 48 hours before Mossad arrived, they matter because they show us something we forget. Everyone lives in time. Everyone has a last morning. Everyone has routines, coffee, ordinary moments. And when those moments end, someone somewhere is left holding the absence. If you want more perspectives they don't show, the witnesses, the investigators, the aftermath they never talk about, subscribe. Because every operation has more than one story. We tell the ones they don't.